Hey, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
It is March.
March 2026.
Yep,
Here
here we
we go.
are. Hang on to your hats and take extra good care. Um, yeah, find every moment you can to be quiet and calm and in comfort, because when you do that for yourself, you're doing it for everybody. But don't believe us. Check it out for yourself. Check it out. Do check it out. And I think you will. This month, we're talking about some calm and quiet and loving beings. We've been thinking about
Plants.
plants.
And as you might have guessed from the saguaro sprouting from my head behind us, we are in the Sonoran Desert, very close to the Mexican border near the little town of Ajo, Arizona. And you might think, well, that's an odd place to talk about plants, but I'm not so sure. I mean, this is a great reminder that plants are extraordinarily adaptable. They have figured out a way to be in really some of the harshest places on Earth. And the water conservation that, the water conservation that they're able to engage in here, to have seeds that can last for years through droughts before they sprout. The hairs on their leaves that reflect the sunlight so that they don't get as much moisture drawn out of their leaves. It's really a study in brilliance as far as Mother Earth is concerned.
And so we are curious about, we're always curious about what the natural world has to teach us. And in particular, how we can recover who we are as the natural world itself in expression. And in interdependence. And so plants have been often relegated to the bottom of the heap in terms of imports. Plants, And they were some of the first things that emerged from the microbes that showed up on our planet.
They created an oxygenated atmosphere that paved the way for all kinds of things, including us.
Yeah.
There is nothing alive as far as mammals, animals, insects on Earth today that does not depend absolutely on plants. If you take the plants away, all of it tumbles.
Yeah, Gary was sending me some stuff from a botanist, some kind of plant researcher, from some primary literature in a science journal, where this gentleman was saying, maybe we may just have this pyramid upside down, that it could be, we think of ourselves as so almighty wonderful, but the fact is those plants don't really need us. I don't know if I'm pushing that too far. Some people, I've heard Jude Currivan say, yeah, not so fast. We are really part of this ecosystem too. And yet it is quite humbling, at least for me, to understand that we are entirely dependent on the plants, and the plants have been giving forward for so many eons. And I kind of am challenged to see what we give back.
Yeah, well,
oxygen.
Carbon dioxide we give back.
Yeah, carbon dioxide, there it is.
For the plants, but I think there are lots of other sources of that, so I'm not so sure we're all that important. But, one thing that we've been discovering, scientists have been discovering over especially the last 30 years or so, is how much connection plants really have to the world around them. They can detect by all evidence sound. They can even, some of them, detect colors. They communicate with each other, of course, through underground fungal networks. There's a consciousness, older, some Buddhist traditions would say, in plants, not necessarily the same as in animals or in humans, but they really have a presence and an ability to sort of take in their environment and adjust by virtue of what they perceive, that really we never had any idea of. As Mary said, plants have always just been sort of, as many religious traditions, including Christianity and early Judaism, said, they're there for humans to pretty much do what they want with. That's why God created plants, is for humans. Yeah, maybe in part, but I think there's a whole lot more going on.
Well, and then there's the physics of it, that it really is. The plants do have consciousness. There is consciousness there, and it is purposeful and meaningful, and from the time of the microbes has become increasingly specialized and increasingly complex. So these are dynamic beings that can show us a lot. In full ecology, we have these 4 orientations: stop, ask, act, and inspire. And it on the J. Barrell Ranch, when it really became clear to us during one retreat that the plants themselves are fantastic at showing us what the ask part really looks like. Stopping, for sure. So watch a plant anywhere. Be around any kind of, flora, and watch how they are stopped. They are stopped, even as they might be moving in the breeze, even as they might be leafing out in spring, even as Gary is describing, they might be actively storing whatever moisture they can acquire. But the asking part is, it's vital that there be the stop before the ask, to be really quiet, so that the ask isn't like we humans sometimes would like to appear precocious and ask just the right question. And then we also would like to control things by asking well and then controlling from there. The ask is different from that. The ask is opening to be receptive to the information around us. And that's what plants show. So check that on your next walk or something. Just take, a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just to be very quiet near a tree, a saguaro, a plant of any kind, and check the stop and the ask.
Yeah, I often like to point out that to me, the stop has to do with being always in the exact present moment. There is no reality other than the present moment, and the plant is sensing what is needed in a given present moment and then reacting to that. So yes, plants are always in movement. There's photons coming into the leaves, and there's, in trees, sap running, and lots of activity going on, interactions with other creatures, but only ever based on what the reality of the present moment is. And that's a great lesson. What do we need to worry about right now? What's going on right now that you really need to devote some cortisol and some stress to?
And that reminds me, plants are demonstrating, they are just so elegant with responding rather than reacting. We humans can get into reaction to try to control, to try to manage, to try all these things. So we jump into action. And even though we've got these in kind of an order: stop, ask, act, inspire, the action that you're describing, Gary, that we see in plants all the time, appears to be coming first. It appears to be coming all the time. But the stopping must be there. And the receptivity, which is what we understand now about ask, being a great receiver, which is kind of a right-sized, humble, matter-of-fact, elegant posture to have in the present moment.
Yeah.
So all of them are happening at the same time, but the action emerges from that receptivity. It's not something that comes, oh my gosh, there's a problem, I got to act right now, boom. We know from social science research that when we do that, 95% of the time, we are answering the wrong question. So we're putting a lot of energy towards solving a problem, and we're really it's the wrong problem. It's not the one in front of us.
You know, one thing that I've been fascinated to learn about fairly recently is this notion that plants are potentially sentient, let's say. That's one way that some people describe them, agree or not, or conscious, because they're taking in everything that's around them and making decisions and charting their course by virtue of what they're sensing in a given moment. That's, to some people, the definition of consciousness, is that awareness. But it brings up that question, and it has in certain traditions like Buddhism for a long time. Well, if plants are sentient, and some believed to the point where they can actually feel discomfort and pain, not sure, I don't know. I don't know.
That could be.
But if that's true, then what happens when you face the fact that we have to kill plants to eat? And that's been an interesting philosophical question. And the Jain tradition within Buddhism was not able to answer it, but it really settled in what I think is a great way to go through life, and that's that just be as the least harmful you can possibly be. Yes, you're going to have to kill plants to eat, but just don't be any more injurious than you have to be. And they told this story. There's these four brothers out there, and they come upon this apple tree just laden with apples, and the first one says, let's chop it down and eat the apples. And the second one says, well, we don't have to chop it down. We cut off that big branch there, and there's plenty of apples there. And the third one says, well, there's quite a few that we can reach just helping each other stand up a little taller. And then the last one says, there's plenty of grapefruit that just fell on the ground. Let's eat it off the ground. So they're basically making this case of how can we interact and get what we need as far as foods with the least amount of damage and waste.
You mean like less Roundup?
Yeah, less Roundup would probably be ultimately a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I think that's another thing that plants show us. They only take what they need. And there are traditions that come from current and former ancestors who are more indigenous, and those include for humans to enter into an ecosystem and say thank you, and even ask permission. Paiute elder taught me how to ask permission before harvesting juniper berries, before harvesting sage. So this is something that has sort of dropped away from my traditions, but the ones that are most obviously of my genetic past.
Yeah, and that kind of reverence.
They're still there.
Yeah,
they were there.
That builds relationship between us and the kinship that we stand to gain from being on this planet at home in this world. And that kind of reverence that Mary was talking about with the juniper berries, that's really so important.
The other thing that I want to mention before we close out for this month is check out the newsletter. We're doing an extensive quote of this plant researcher that I mentioned earlier, who was considering beach cabbage when he ran into an elder on the beach of the Philippines. And this elder talked about his relation. This elder was a healer for decades and decades, his adult life, and medicinal plants like the beach cabbage, which is really good for infection. And then started speaking about plants as the most loving of all beings. So consider that too, that there's less obstruction. Plants are just being plants, and they are being plants and offering us all the many things that we gain from plants. What generous beings.
Yeah, they're
what
really
loving beings.
Holding the stability of planet Earth.
Yeah.
The plants are.
Yeah.
If the plants weren't, our climate, everything would really unravel remarkably fast, let alone we wouldn't have food to eat. But
right.
They really are the first order of holding planet Earth together, and for that reason alone, they're really worth taking a second look at, just to be grateful for.
To be grateful and plenty to learn from.
Yeah.
They're our teachers. So that's what we propose for this month, and we hope you'll join us to dive more deeply into this topic on the 10th of March at 6 o'clock Mountain Time. Every second Tuesday we do this. It's free. People come in from all over the
Mm-hmm.
country. Yeah. And so that's come join us. You can find the details in the newsletter. Also, feel free to be in touch with us at connect@fullecology.com. Say something about the
Well,
retreats.
yeah, go to our webpage, fullecology.com, and check out the retreats that are coming up this summer at J. Barral Ranch in fantastic Centennial Valley, southwest Montana. I can pretty much promise you, having been through so much of Montana for 40 years, that this is as beautiful as it gets. And we have our cabins right on the Red Rock River. There are trumpeter swans floating by most mornings. It's quiet. There are moose, there are wolves, there are bears nearby. Meadowlarks singing on the fence posts. It's so powerful as
Yeah.
simply
And then the mountains.
an environment. Yes, an
Yeah.
environment to just get to your creative best.
Yeah. Yeah. And so check it, especially, we're putting special emphasis on this brand new offering, which is retreating with your inner elder. If you want to know more about that, please be in touch with us because we can tell you more. This is a part of you that you have always had. And it's very similar, it's parallel kind of to the inner child. But rather than being the both like playful and creative and wounded part that the child can be, this one is a companion and a guide that you've had your whole life, that is really reliable and really right there and deeply, deeply mirrors the brilliance of the natural world. So to be in the Centennial Valley looking into this particular notion, that's going to be in early, well, it's really going to be super powerful and fun. So that's going to be in early July, the
July
5th to the
5th to
9th.
the 9th.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So just take a look and be in touch with us. And you can find out more www.fullecology.com.
Right. Good to see everyone.
Really
And
good.
hope to see you on the deep dive.
Yeah, and at the retreats.
Yeah. Happy spring.
Yeah, be in touch. We like hearing from you.
Take care.
Bye.